started. Stream. I mean, this will have to
Welcome
do
in,
for,
everybody. Region Football Weekly is back, and so is the high school football season. Excited to be back with you for another year right here on the Region Sports Network. Michael Brenner here along with the sports director, Mike Dewan. Mike, always a pleasure to be back with you covering high school football, and kudos to you and the team this past summer doing a lot of really hard work. And now those interviews and the previews and all that stuff now kind of getting ready to come to fruition as we get into week one. The guys are going to finally start hitting each other, and the thing's going to happen. Things are going to start taking shape now at this point.
You couldn't have set up. It's just fantastic, Michael. It's football season. I can't even put it into words. Yes, it was a total team effort. There's kind of two seasons for the football fans out there. There's football season, and there's gearing up for the football season. And everything, again, that we did this past summer and even a little bit in the spring, talking with coaches, talking with players, getting the team outlooks and team previews that were mostly correct. Obviously, it's a new landscape in Northwest Indiana football, but it all, again, like you said, it all gears itself up for these next 15 weeks. We cannot wait, and we're happy to be here to be that outlet for you guys again on these Thursday nights, Friday nights, and just about the whole rest of the week. But Michael,
It's every day.
It's good to be back, though, to say the absolute least. Again, week one eve. What better time than now?
Well, and then not only new season, but new digs as well for us. A little different backdrop for you than you're used to. We are at the Athletic Performance Factory here, bringing you all the action. Region Football Weekly Studios, a lot of other fun stuff coming your way over the course of this season. A lot of things are coming back, and they'll come from right here at the studios. And you got the RSN Zone coming back, which is always a fun event as well. Love that we get to see as many games as we do and kind of toggle back and forth between different games that we've got here on the Region Sports Network. And then our guy Justin Cole always working up on our big board in the studio to let us see everything that we want to see. And Zach Miller does a lot of really good work as well behind the scenes, as well as he always rises at me, but that's all right. We love him anyway. A lot of great features are coming back as well this year. Our peak performers, those are back. Electrifying plays. Who doesn't love a good electrifying play? I know I like calling them.
Makes two of us.
That's so much fun. I like talking about the peak performers as well. Displaying all the talents of our great athletes around Northwest Indiana, both male and female. And then one of my favorite things that I always kind of keep track during a game when I'm out on the broadcast is our Strachey Mantell Town scoreboard update as well. That'll be back rolling. And,
every Friday night, right? Yep. Live scoreboard updates. We'll have those on the finals, of course, that night as well. And then Saturday, we would roll those in. A lot of old stuff coming back, some new stuff as well. Don't forget that. Michael, this is year 25 of the Region Sports Network. So what more fun could we have than maybe doing some written stuff, highlighting the 25 years. We can talk about even football stuff or even 20 years of other sports, but without you guys, this would not be possible. So why not give back to you guys maybe some 25-year anniversary new content, as well as, you talked about those peak performers.
Yeah, that was fun.
Electrifying plays. And again, your typical Friday night stuff alongside our games. The scoreboard, the Strachey Mantell hometown scoreboard,
everyone always
RSN
says
zone.
we
So kind of
sound
kicked
just
off
like
a little
each other.
Later in the year. We're going to kind of get used to our new fantastic place, which is the Athletic Performance Factory. A big shout out to Doug Schaefer and the company here for letting us come out here and do what we do. But we'll kind of get RSN zone a little within the season, but we'll still be here. All studio stuff, like you said, Michael, right here in the Athletic Performance Factory.
Can I see what
I'm loving every minute of getting ready for our 25th season, 25 years, quarter century. Big reason is you, the viewers that are watching this right now. Obviously, the athletes have a bigger factor in that because that's who we're covering. But the viewers are the ones that are getting the kids to the practices with younger and eventually getting to where they're at today. So it's so much fun, and we can't wait to get this 25th season up and running. Before we start looking into our conference outlooks, because we got a go ahead for you, we got conference outlooks. We'll take a look at that Enigenberg Home Improvement Top 10 list. We'll wait to bring those to you. Those are always a lot of fun. Everyone likes to have their input on those. And then we'll take a look at some of the games going on week 1 and the games we have here on the Region Sports Network. Before we get into all that, though, we want to send from the Region Sports Network our condolences out to our longtime colleague. I believe he's been here all 25 years, Jay Simmons, who just recently lost his father. So, Jay, we are with you. We're standing with you. And week 1 won't be the same without you. But, we're with you. And, yes, we're still going to make fun of you from time to time on broadcast and stuff. We know you're hurting right now, and we're with you all the way, and the rest of your family and everyone else involved with that.
Yeah, we're glad to be holding down the fort here, Jay. You and I were kind of partners for the show all of last season. And again, some things are just bigger than Region Football Weekly and then the high school football. And Jay, we'll hold it down, take all the time you need. But from us here at Region Sports, to harp on what you said, Michael, we can't thank you for everything you've done as a co-worker. And it's always great to, of course, be around you. And it's week 1 football. It'll be interesting without you, but it's, we're giving you all the time you need, Jay. We love you. And, our condolences for the Region Sports family.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a look at some of these conferences. 2024, I tell you what, I probably had one of the more fun years covering all these different conferences and talking about all these different teams and everything in 2024 than I have in previous years. Over in the Northwest Crossroads Conference, 3-way tie. I got to finish kind of the regular season out at Andrean. You had Andrean, you had Hanover, you had Hobart. This year, what are we looking at? Going to be the favorite. I got to see them in that scrimmage matchup against. We were over for the dry run. I got to see they were looking pretty good in that game against that scrimmage against Lake Central, and that was an interesting one. Mm-hmm. Scrimmages are scrimmages, so you're kind of doing rotations and stuff like that. But I tell you what, Coach Skinner always doing a great job over there. Can't wait to see what the 59ers are throwing out there, and then plenty more other teams that are probably going to be stepping up here.
Yeah, starting off with Andrean, we talked about that aforementioned. We saw them a little bit at our dry run. Spoiler alert again, we were at Lake Central. Kind of getting things going. Got a good look at the 59ers. To start with them. They're going to be a tough team. We'll talk about them a little bit more into the show, but they have a couple senior leaders, one at the quarterback position, a Big Ten commit on the offensive line as well. It's a senior. But they have some very, very young pieces that played a lot of football last year that they're going to make their names well known. One name that sticks out to me, Ethan Reyna, a Division I talent, soon to be. He's only a junior, and a couple guys that went down last year with an injury. That some of these guys are still underclassmen, and they're going to be playing some high-level football on Friday nights. But I'll tell you this, kind of segueing into these 3 teams and that 3-team tie with Andrean, Hanover, and Hobart. Talking with a few of these teams, goal for this year, they don't want a 3-way tie. They don't want a 2-way tie. They want the whole thing. With Hanover, starting with them a little bit, new coach on the sidelines, Tony Bartolomeo. He was on staff for a few seasons and now kind of elevates after Brian Parker's resignation this past offseason. They have a team kind of coming back where they lose a bit on the offensive side. Their defense expects to be very strong. But a team as well that's going to be interesting is the Hobart Brickies, heading into the pivotal year 2 with Eric Shriver Jr. on the sideline. This is a team that, similar to Andrean in a way, yes, they lose a little bit of talent, a couple seniors from last year's squad, but a lot of young guys, especially on that defensive side. Michael, this 3-team race is going to be one to look out for heading, once you get to those later conference games. You kind of saw last year when Andrean beat Hanover late in the year and kind of even things up. These 3 teams kind of play each other a little bit later in the year, and it makes for a photo finish.
Well, I'll tell you what, when about any of these teams in the NCC, obviously, I'm sure as I was talking about Andrean, the Hobart fans were rolling their eyes like, oh, we're talking about Andrean. Yeah. I feel like Hobart is always one of those teams like, we're not sure if they're going to be the team that might win this one out, but they're always seem to be right there in the conversation. They're always one of those teams that you have to just the respect factor. You have to always watch out for the Hobart Brickies because they are definitely one of the tough-nosed teams in that conference. I'm really curious on what's going to happen with the Little Red Devils this year, though.
You and me both. Again, bringing in a head coach like Casey McKim from New Prairie, the retirement after the longest tenured head coach in the region in Keith Kilmer, and who did a lot of great things with the program, but he stepped away kind of on his accord, and in comes a proven winner in Casey McKim, who's had region ties. I know he spent some time at Valparaiso, and I think he was under Bill Marshall as a coordinator, then goes over to New Prairie and dominates what he did over there in the 4A class. Very familiar with some of these teams. He's going to be more familiar with now in his new role, again, in that 4A sectional. I mean, we've seen these past few seasons, Michael, New Prairie just runs out of that 4A sectional, beating the likes of Hobart and those other teams that, again, we are very familiar with, especially in the NCC. Lowell it could be kind of a sleeping giant. We know what they are capable of and what we've seen from years past. But year one is always kind of a task, and I say this for every single team that gets a new coach. Year one is kind of a challenge. We see that with even some of the top coaches in the days, like Craig Buzia, for example, Crown Point. They went 5 in year one, and that's a record that seems to be hard to believe right now. And that may be the same thing at Lowell, but one kind of snowball into year 2, year 3, when the culture, when the kids start really buying in, this team could be a problem. But year one, I mean, why not the Lowell Red Devils right now?
If you listen closely, you can hear the RD chants all the way here
sure.
where we're at right now. You can hear those chants. They're already going.
Sure.
All right, moving over to the GSSC. You had Wheeler and Boone Grove that won their divisions last year. How are these two teams going to fare you?
Yeah, two teams they're again some strong head coaches that are very, very proven. To start with Wheeler, again, Nick Testa, back-to-back Coach of the Year. Wheeler did almost the unthinkable, going to the Boneyard and beating a very good Griffith team to kind of win that outright title in the GSSC. But both them and Boone Grove, again, although they were division champs last year, they lose a lot of their core pieces. Wheeler and Boone Grove both lose their quarterbacks. Boone Grove had a very senior-led team with a lot of those guys playing 3-4 years and playing both sides of the ball. You're going to see that a lot more, obviously, with these smaller schools, but it's going to be a new core that kind of comes around with both of these squads. Now, a team that I'm looking for in the GSSC, just from the outright perspective, is the Griffith Panthers.
I was going to say, you can't count out Coach Mason at all, because he's going to be coming in with you talk about that culture.
Yep.
He's a couple years into this now. He's going to be building that culture in Griffith, and this is really going to be truly kind of his team at this point. He's got things going where he wants it to go. So, yeah, I'm looking to see the Griffith Panthers after a couple of years under Coach Mason.
Yeah, with Phil Mason, man, he's a proven winner, and it's when you have a guy like that in your sidelines and talking with some of those players in this offseason, I mean, he means a lot to them. It's a guy that you want to play football for.
Yeah.
You want to go out there and score some points and win some games and make that whole community of Griffith football happy. But this is a team, and we'll talk about them later in the show, but they bring back a record-breaking junior quarterback. He had a great passing season. Not like Griffith threw the ball a lot in their history. They ran the wishbone offense, but I mean, he put up over 2,000 yards. I remember the name Ryan Bouillon. He's a junior quarterback, and they throw the football a lot. They have fantastic athletes that they can put out in space. They got a running back coming back, Adventurous Tedder as well, who can do some things. I wouldn't be surprised if Griffith, we saw what they did kind of in the first 8 weeks of the regular season last year, just dominated opponents and fell flat to Wheeler, then eventually Knox in the sectional. But Griffith, I mean, the floor for them, honestly, bringing back that core, I think the floor is the outright title. But, I mean, you still have teams like Wheeler, you still have teams like Boone Grove that bring back, again, they still have kind of that pedigree, and they still have a couple players in the system. But Griffith, I don't know, Michael. Jason,
so he is
guys there. I don't know.
Mike has officially set the bar. It's the conference championship,
and I mean
that's where you're at.
That's kind of Phil Mason too as well.
Yeah.
I mean, all he does is know how to win, and I think now again talking with him in the offseason, it's can we be great? Can we be a great football team? We've shown we could be good, but can we be great? And I think this Griffith team, they have the pieces. They're trying to ramp up their schedule a little bit as well. That culture is kind of shifting. The GSSC outright, it might be theirs to lose. There's still some guys in the River Forest as well. I know they're going through a coaching change. Someone's got some pieces. Calumet, I know they got a couple transfers. They're on our bubble for our top 10 list. So they might be a team to look out for. West Side, of course, as well. But it might run through Griffith this year, Michael. We'll see.
All right. I like it. Always fun when Griffith's in the mix, for sure. Let's go ahead and look at the GLAC. This has been pretty much a conference run by the Morton Governors the last couple of years. Are they going to continue that run? We might have a little bit of room for them in the top 10. We're going to find out in a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, this is basically theirs to lose at this point.
I would say so. They their second straight conference title last year, and their conference opponents, who is the Hammond Central Wolves and the East Chicago Central Cardinals, they outscored them by a score of 98-14. So right now it is not too bad. They're not playing golf, so it's so things are looking well for the Morton Governors in that conference. Now that's we could kind of talk about them later in the show, how that fares for them for not only the rest of the season but also in the 5A bracket. But to pick a winner for this conference, I'd say it's kind of a low-hanging fruit right here. I think team to look out for this season is Hammond Central with Tyler Milby on their sidelines. He did a lot of great things at Bishop Knoll, which I almost forgot about Bishop Knoll. They got a new coach as well, and Rick Good. That could be a team to look out for. In the previous conference we mentioned, of course, a team that might be on the upswing. But back to the GLAC, Tyler Milby did a lot of great things with the Warrior program. Obviously, the Hammond Central and Hammond Morton rivalry is always a fun one. But Morton, again, hearing kind of some of the pieces they are bringing back, and they had 13 college signees last year, Michael, and that's a number. We already see a couple so far. A kid going to Toledo. They have an offensive lineman, Cameron Miller Jr., going to Kentucky. They have the pieces in place. Again, some of these kids are going to have to learn how to play with each other, and that kind of comes over through the course of the season. This is a team that's talented. It's going to be theirs.
All right, and then you also have Central in there as well. Roy Richards now on staff with East Chicago as well, leaving Portage, so he's with them now. So we'll see how maybe that plays a factor. 2 wins over the last 2 seasons for them, so can they improve some of those numbers a little bit there?
Yeah, it's been a tough spending for Coach Corey Bailey. We ran into them this offseason. He's still very optimistic with the program, and yeah, we know Richards was at least helping out with the program in the place where he kind of started his head coaching gig. About Corey Bailey and his crew, he was optimistic. The numbers are growing, and you and I both kind of know, at least you're seeing from basketball, and how special East Chicago as a city could be when sports are going well, and how the community really rallies around this team. I think Coach Corey Bailey is trying to. He's an East Chicago alum. He played under Roy Richards as well. He wants to kind of put that on his kids and realize that it's special to be an East Chicago football player. Yes, the numbers may not show that as of late, but this is something he's going to try and rebuild. And again, Rome wasn't built in a day. It may take a couple years for these Cardinals, but the numbers are looking good. If we were to look at kind of how they fare in the conference, yeah, it might be tough going up against those 2 5A schools like Hammond Central and Hammond Morton, but things are hopefully on the upswing for the Cardinals.
I mean, you talk about having the pride of that. I mean, we got to watch it, like you said, with basketball this past year. There's so much history with East Chicago. It's so much fun to dive in to all of that history, and then when the community comes out and supports, and they do on a regular basis, it's there's nothing else like it around Northwest Indiana. It's a special place to play. Yes, the numbers, like you said, may not always show up in that column, but man, when you're just part of that long lineage of history, that makes it all the more special, in my opinion. That you get to say you were a part of something like that. There's nothing else like it.
It's something you almost have to be a part of to fully kind of grasp. Heck, I mean, you and I and everybody within this company and in the sports media field, we probably only know so much about how special it is to be a member of the East Chicago Central culture, or a culture like Holbert football, kind of something similar to that, or Griffith football, or it's just special, and it's just different to be in that. And again, I'm rooting for like that because it's fun for us to see these, because they show out, and obviously it's tough times now. Here for ECC.
Yep, that's the hope. All right, let's move over to the DAC, the Duneland Athletic Conference. I'm not sure who's going to topple over Crown Point at this point. Not sure if it's going to happen. We're always looking for upsets. Those are always kind of fun. Not that we're rooting against Crown Point in any way, shape, or form. But I mean, again, we talk about the Morton Governors as their conference to lose. Same thing in the Duneland for Crown Point. It's really their conference to lose at this point.
Yeah, I can't recall the last three-peat off the top of my head, outright Duneland title. I don't think it was Crown Point. It would have been maybe some Maryville teams. Valpo had a good stretch in the late 2010s, but they haven't lost a regular season game since 2021, and obviously, I mean, they just ran through Duneland opponents, and I mean, we saw kind of last most of those games. They really weren't close. I mean, 25 plus, I think, in all those Duneland games, and it's kind of been year in and year out. Now, that said, although Crown Point might be kind of a favorite heading into a potential four-peat, this is going to be a little bit different Crown Point squad than what we've seen. You have some core pieces, and teams lose core pieces every single offseason. You lose Indiana Gatorade Player of the Year under center and Noah Ehrlich, who 2 years with the program was fantastic as a quarterback, as you could just about ask for in a high-level offense like Crown Point runs. He loses his backfield mate in Larry Ellison. I believe he was a two-time All-State nod. A Ball State signee now, and Lucas Szymborski, and the list goes on and on. So, Crown Point does lose pieces like that. This is a team that is still looking to kind of not rebuild, but more so retool, Michael. They have, to my count, 6, soon-to-be 3. It's hard to believe, as good as this team has been, they were fielding some sophomores, some juniors, and they're coming back this year. And you got a player like Trevor Gibbs, who's doing things on both sides of the ball, going to be a future Indiana Hoosier, hoping to end his campaign with a bang. Can we say the gap is still as far as it might be between Crown Point and everybody else? I just don't know. It might be trimming down a little bit, but it still might be Crown Point in the driver's seat in this Dumoulin, and they still got the big target on their back.
Yeah, I think the momentum and the energy and kind of the aura, if you will, is with Crown Point at this point. But I think you're right that that gap has narrowed quite a bit, because it was pretty much, there was Crown Point, and then there was kind of, there was obviously some very good teams in that Dumoulin Athletic Conference, but there was definitely the tiers, and there was Crown Point in a tier by itself. Now, I will tell you, Maryville fans don't want to hear that.
Nope.
Valpo fans don't want to hear that. Nobody else in the Dumoulin wants to hear that. They think that they've maybe made those jumps and those strides to catch that, and I would agree. So we're going to find out real quick early on in the year, because I know, a couple of weeks in, we're going to find out pretty early on who's going to take that lead in the Dumoulin Athletic Conference by the end of Q3.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's something we got circled on our schedule. It's just about probably the whole region does. But yeah, it's like, from what we've seen from Crown Point, now the question becomes, who is going to be that second place team? And we'll talk about some other stages, Dumoulin as well. But I mean, that second place could be, and I'm not saying these teams are certainly limited to second place, but Maryville, they're always chomping at the bit. This is a team that went to semi-state once again last year, have a fantastic backfield tandem returning with two names, J.Q. Johnson and Cameron Jordan. Watch out for those two. Those guys are box office. Their defense is always going to be tough. Offensive line might be a place that could be of question. I know there was a senior-led team last year, but these guys aren't going to go away. And again, they are chomping at the bit for that conference supremacy. Now you have those other teams, Valparaiso. They were in this position not too long ago, and Coach Bill Marshall and his guys are looking to get back to the mountaintop again. They're going to have a quarterback coming back, and Kellen Hosick, who was fantastic for the squad. Now, looking at the rest of the team, that might be, there's going to be new pieces and a defensive unit especially that was not great last year by Valparaiso standards. It was the most points they allowed on a per-game basis since 2012. That, if you want to win the Dumoulin, that cannot happen. Valparaiso is going to hope to kind of tighten down their defense. And a dark horse could be the Chesterton Trojans, Michael, a team that suffered some injuries last year, but had a couple one-score losses and played their way to a one-score loss in the sectional championship to that aforementioned Valparaiso team. Trojans, and we'll talk about them a little bit later, but they're going to be a team as well that's going to hang in the mix, and they're going to play teams close. If you have a rushing attack like Chesterton, they're going to limit opportunities and milk that clock. I
can almost guarantee a lot of people are clipping this video at some point once we're there for everyone. They're going to take, us talking about Crown Point as they might win the whole thing, or you saying, like, we're not limiting that. They're going to use this as fuel, I hope. Like, what do those guys know?
Hey, prove us wrong. I guess that's the job,
I'm all
right?
for
Bulletin
it.
board material. So,
I'm fine with bulletin board material.
Amen.
One of the things that I want to ask about, obviously, I'm a little bit biased on this, but 2024 felt very unlucky for a couple of teams in the Dumoulin Athletic Conference. You had a couple of teams that had losses over the course of the year by just a single. And so if you flip even just some of those, how does that into maybe where these teams, do they make different strides this year? One of those would be Lake Central, would be Coach Koulianis. You had 4 losses by 1 score. You flip some of those. What kind of momentum, if that happens early in the year, what kind of momentum does that bring you later on in the year? Not to say they're going to compete with the Maryvilles and the Crown Points, but certainly put you in a different driver's seat if you can kind of that script a little bit. Now this is really starting to turn into his it's year 2, but it's kind of going to be turning into his program, and you've got some good talent there. And I was really impressed with Cam Reddick at that scrimmage.
He was impressive for sure. The senior quarterback for Lake Central might do a little bit things defensively as well. But yeah, there were kind of 2 teams in the Dumoulin. But to answer your Michael about those 2 teams that were unlucky, we'll start with the Lake Central Indians. You mentioned 4 one-score losses, and kind of the situation there. And yes, they got a couple guys coming back like Cam Reddick under center. Wes Lalich is a name you might hear as well, kind of cycling under center. But they have some guys, as all these teams in the Dumoulin does. Now that said, you want to be on the other side of that coin and culture. I talked about the pivotal year 2, year with Pete Koulianos. Yes, what was it, a 3-7 season? But again, you flip some of those, and we're talking about the Central Indians a little bit differently heading into 2020. He was pretty optimistic that if this team kind of learns how to win, it'll kind of start snowballing. And like you said, the culture and you know, the pridefulness of being a Lake Central football player, everything is on the upswing. Now, that said, again, this team has to learn how to close out those games. It seems like we kind of have talked about this with the likes of Lake Central, and another team like Michigan City, who we'll get into, is there's some of these coin flip games that, hey, you know, if things go differently, this is a whole different outlook. But it can't kind of be the norm. This team has to learn how to close those out. And same to be said with City. They had 5 one-score losses, a team that had a very solid 2023 season under Coach French in his first campaign with the Wolves. Then you kind of turn it over to this past season, and they had a couple close wins in 2023. We shifted over to 24. Again, 5 one-score losses. I believe there was a 1-5 record throughout the course of the season. That cannot fly. But again, it might be a little bit of a positive. You don't want to look at it too much that way, because a loss is a loss. But I mean, these are 2 teams that still have talent, and they're capable of winning games. But can they play for a full 4 quarters and close these? I mean, this conference, it shows the talent of this conference that every Friday night is not promised in terms of we're going to roll this team or we are going to get dominated by this team. It really could be, it's any given Friday, I guess, if you will, especially in this conference.
Yeah, there's no question. A couple other teams just to kind of, you know, look at here, kind of trying to figure out what these teams are like, what their identity might look like. And really, we're not going to know until a couple of weeks into the year. The Portage Indians as well, new head coach over there, and then obviously LaPorte Slicers are going to get on the win column, or in the win column early in the campaign after going winless last year.
Yeah, starting with Portage, obviously, it's been an interesting offseason for them, and kind of in this new era of Indiana high school sports now, with obviously the transfer rules, that there might be kind of a action that results of something that happened before. If a head coach, you know, leaves to go elsewhere or whatnot, then some players might follow him or maybe look for a change of scenery. So Portage, now you bring in Tony Klimczak, who has done some great things with other programs. You were just looking to kind of, they had a little bit of momentum last year from what we saw from this program. Yes, you have a new guy on your sidelines, but you want to try and keep that momentum no matter what players you are fielding out there. Now, for LaPorte's sake, Austin Epple, their head coach, again, it's been a tough stretch, obviously, but the beauty of obviously having a season where you're looking to get in the win column is there's nowhere to go, and you want to try and have baby steps and get the players out there to slowly start to build a culture. Yes, we're entering now in E3 with Coach Epple, but it's something that you have to take whatever wins you could get. And if that's maybe playing a team close that you lost to by a couple scores last year, or hey, maybe scrapping out a win. Yeah. This was a team that was competitive in the early stages of the season. They played Prairie fairly well before kind of the wheels fell off. They suffered some injuries as well. They're bringing back a quarterback in Aiden Penziol, who has a lot of experience under center. But again, for LaPorte, kind of in this case where these last 2 seasons have been especially tough, baby steps, and eventually, you know, kind of start building a little bit of momentum and hopefully kind of bump your way up in the tiers in the DAC. All
right, so that'll kind of put a bow on kind of looking at these conferences. When we come back, we will take a look at our first, and again, Berg Home Improvement Top 10 list. So stay with us. We'll be right back here on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
At Strachan Van Til, we believe grocery shopping should be simple. Now, shop easier than ever with our new and improved website. Find what you need fast. Browse your favorite products, add them to your cart, and check out in just a few quick steps. Choose between convenient in-store pickup or let us heading. From our shelves to your doorstep. Skip the lines, shop your way, and spend more time on what matters most. With our rewards program, enjoy incredible savings and purse every time you shop. Shop online now at strachanvantil.com or download our app today.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn what you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. If you're a contractor, it's my job to make your insurance coverage simple and affordable. Because I know time is money, I'll come to your business. Certificates and bonds are a snap. Wherever you are, whatever business you're in, we've got you covered. As Crown Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero. Crown Company's insurance professionals. Highland, Merrillville, and
Hey, welcome back. This is Region Football Weekly right here on the Region Sports Network. Michael Brenner here, along with Mike Dewan, the Mike Attack here for you to get you for the opening week of the high school football season. And it wouldn't be a football season if we didn't come out with a weekly top 10.
Come on now.
We have already talked to the committee. The committee numbers are in. I believe we've published this already on the Region Sports Network. So we're not breaking any news, but we're definitely going to go into depth as to why the committee maybe put these teams where they're at. I'm sure some people out there are going to have difference of opinions. That's fine. We love difference of opinions. I know our sports director right here loves confrontation. He loves when you comment on things. He embraces it so much. He tells you why he's right, you're wrong, or why you're right, he's wrong. He'll listen to all that.
I'm an open book. We are an open book at this committee. Don't forget that, Michael.
Oh, I wasn't even saying you were on the committee. I'm just saying the committee votes. You're kind of the face of it, though. You represent that as the sports director, whereas I just stand with a headset on and I yap, I talk. That's all I do. I just say what's happening in front of you. You can't get mad at me for that. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this Ennigenburg Home Improvement Top 10 list. Let's start with number 10. We talked about them from the GLAC. It is the Morton Governors, who started the year 0 for 4 and then finished out 5 for 5. Not a bad way to end the year after an 0 for 4 start.
Yeah, they, again, showed a bit of fight at the end of the year, but we kind of alluded to it when talking about them in the conference. This team has a very tough out-of-conference schedule. They play teams from Illinois. They're playing a team from Michigan once again this season. They open up against two Duneland opponents that they went 0-2, obviously 0-2 against last year. They take on a Portage team at home in the Mansion, and they go and take on Chesterton, to be mentioned later in this poll. But this is a Morton team. Again, it's tough to pass up on the talent that they have. They have a couple transfers as well now, again, with this new Northwest Indiana football. And about the Governors, again, it's the talent's there, Michael, but it's a game. And these kids learn how to kind of play with each other. It's their first season with some of these guys kind of as a collective unit. It's a new look Morton team, as it sometimes seems to be, kind of year in and year out. And they may struggle out of the gate like what we kind of saw last season. But again, things open up very quickly against a Portage squad that's going to be kind of a new look Indian squad as well. If they could kind of get started on the right foot, there's room for them in this top 10 for sure. And again, if these pieces now start to click and learn how to play football with each other, they might be a mainstay for quite some time. But they got to build up that momentum, and then they want to try and be a force in the 5A class. That section runs through Maryville as of late, but Morton, again, definitely I'd say that second best team in that 14-team Munster, Hammond Central, Maryville, and Morton. And if they could put the pieces together, I mean, the sky's the limit.
One thing I've never actually asked a coach this question, but I kind of get the sense that a lot of coaches, especially early on in the season, are willing to kind of start a year 1-1, 1-3, or whatever the case may be, depending on how many teams are in your conference, to play really, really tough teams that are only going to make your team better. And again, that's what propels you. And this is the same when we talk about basketball too, or baseball, or softball, or volleyball, or whatever sport you're talking about. It only prepares for the tournament later on in the year. You play the tough team very front, see, okay, this is what we need to work on, because one, nobody's going to be perfect on that's usually when we see probably the most penalties on week 1, that kind of thing, and then you're kind of really finding that identity week 3 and 4, so you're willing to kind of take those lumps early and then use that to propel you into IHSAA play.
100%. That's why Morton has these past 2 seasons especially have been very dominant in their small conference of 3. Now, that said, again, we talked about kind of the mountaintop, which is Maryville in that sectional bracket. But, again, you want to build up that identity, like you were saying, Michael, to learn how to work as a collective unit. And, hey, this is what Morton football is all about in the year of 2025. This is what we're going to do. And they're going to have a better answer for that in Week 9 compared to Week 1. Now, that said, you cannot really afford to be lackadaisical against a Portage roster, a Chesterton roster that, again, they're talented as well. Yeah. They're going to figure out their identity, but again, they're Duneland schools. They're bigger schools than you. You got a 6 and a 5A school to open out the gate. you got to get ready to go if you're the Govs.
All right, moving down to number 9, or is it up? I don't know how that works in that particular. We're moving in the direction of number 9. It's going to be the Hanover Central Wildcats. Yeah, lost a lot to graduation last year, but there's still a lot coming back this year as well.
Yeah, the co-NCC champs, part of that three-way tie that you and I mentioned earlier in this broadcast. But yeah, it seems to that they're going to lose a little bit more on the offensive side. You lose a quarterback in Tommy Bonner, who was tremendous in his 1 year with the varsity program. You lose just a superstar at the running back position in Caden Verrett, Rocco Bartolomeo, who is the son of the new head coach of the Hanover Central Wildcats. Tony Bartolomeo was a fantastic receiver as well, and a couple other pieces on that unit. That it's going to be a new look squad. I believe Jeff Resney is the starting quarterback, going to be lining up for, I believe, his first start against the Michigan City Wolves come here tomorrow night. So that's not an easy task, but he's somebody who's ready for the challenge, to say the absolute least. But it's going to be a team that it's going to be led by their defense. Looking at the roster last year, 8 of their top 10 tacklers from the 24 season will be back in action. They got a great linebacking core. Lincoln Zerby was a name that we talked to, Luke Kopak as well. Just a lot of guys that have played a lot of football together and now fully understand the culture of Hanover Central ball. And that's one thing that benefits hiring a coach that has been within the system. Coach Bartolomeo, I think he was an assistant on staff for, I want to say, about 4 seasons.
A good handful of years,
we can call it, and he understands what Hanover Central football has become. And for them, although, again, they dip down to the 9 spot, they're going to be playing their hardest schedule ever, we could call it, for Hanover Central football. They open up at City, then they come home, their home opener against Bishop Chatard, and then conference play starts. The standard, to just see how much that has changed since the inception of their program. Again, a tough first 2 games, but this team has a lot of room for growth. And once again, Michael, that changes. They want a gun for that NCC title.
Yeah, no question about it. It's fun to see where this program has, when it started in its infancy all those years ago, and now kind of where it's at this point. It's been fun to watch. I've kind of really gotten to watch it in my time here at the Region Sports Network. Let's move to number 8. We talked about Michigan City. That's where Hanover is going to open up. So Michigan have to play Hanover, but one of the best venues to ever watch a football game is over in Michigan City. So they're coming in at number 8.
Yeah, an 8-9 matchup. We'll talk about that. Those two playing each other later in the broadcast. Michigan City, we talked about a kind of unlucky tier in the Doom, and the 3-7 record last year. Again, 1-5 in those one-score games. Yeah. That just can't happen. It's something that Coach Cody French hopes to kind of change, build back up that winning culture we saw from 2 years ago from the Michigan City squad. They were a team that made a couple moves in kind of the transfer window, we can call it, a couple move outs, but a couple kids coming in. And this is a team that returns the core of its offense, especially as you lose a Big 12 pass rusher in Adrian Holly, who's going to do some big things at Kansas. But you return a quarterback with a couple weapons, that quarterback being Treniston Hart, who had his first full season under center as a junior. Well, it was great. We're going to only improve and kind of be that guy once again for Coach Cody French, that is an offense that's going to be high tempo. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. They're going to keep defenses on their heels. And they want to try and, again, break that tough streak of just losing those nail-biting losses. Again, 1-5. Let's say that record is, we could split it down the middle, 3-3, and we're talking a heck of a lot different about this City squad. I expect that number to change. Again, this team is way too talented, and I think that culture, they do not want to have a season like that again, Michael.
You talk about another community that really rallies around their team when things are successful. Michigan City is one. Our number 17, the Griffith Panthers, are that as well. When there's Panther pride, there is a lot of support there, and that place is buzzing, and it's a lot of fun over there.
And this team, again, like I mentioned, the floor might be pretty high for this squad. Not degrading the competition in the GSSC, but what they did in the first 8 weeks of the season, it's hard to believe that Griffith cannot run the table kind of in the early parts of the regular season again and find themselves as the mainstay on this list. About the squad, again, it's an offense especially that returns a lot of pieces from a unit that scored a lot of points. You got a record-breaking passer that we mentioned in Ryan Bouillon entering now his junior season. Just had a tremendous sophomore campaign, already rewriting the record books for the Griffith Panthers. They have weapons all across the board. Watch out for the name Jason Quillian out there at the wide receiver position, who's, just a lengthy receiver that could really just about make any catch you ask him to, and the connection that both of those have. They talked about it when we visited with them, and they know just about everything about each other, and they put a tremendous amount of work in. The defense, they'll have a couple new pieces. They lose a couple of their leading tacklers from last season, but this is, again, the culture is there. And when you have a potential, a soon-to-be Hall of Fame coach in Phil Mason on your sidelines, the standard is set, and the floor and the expectation for this team, they know what they are capable of, and they know what they could certainly accomplish, and we could definitely see what they could do. Now, that said, the culture, the standard is changing. They have looked out to improve their schedule. They take on Highland, and they take on Munster at home. Then a new opponent on their schedule. They will take on Lowell. That's going to be a fun one. But it's Panthers. I'm telling you, man, watch out. They'll be fun.
It's always fun when you're thinking about, like, okay, traveling around as much as we do and covering all these teams. You're like, wait, Griffith and Lowell haven't been playing each other the last number of years? But no, they haven't. They're not on the schedule. It's like weird the way we cover it. We talk about all these teams on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. And it's like, wait, these two teams don't match up? Well, that's going to happen this year. One thing as we move on to team number 6, it's going to be weird. First time in a couple of years, I'm not going to be talking to Coach Peterson to start the year. I'm going to be covering a different game. But normally I always start with Coach Peterson and the Chesterton Trojans the last couple of years against that matchup against Hobart. So, Coach, I'll miss you. But, the Chesterton Trojans coming in at number 6.
Yeah, this was a very surprising team last year. I believe they increased their win total by the numbers escaping me right now, but this was the team that was to kind of make a lot of noise in the Duneland last year, but they played their way into a section championship game, and I mean they did it by just smash mouth football, Michael.
So I would say, so those teams that were losing, and I would have to go back and look at the real numbers here, but my guess would be those teams that were losing by 1 touchdown, whereas they were losing, go flip side, I think Chesterton was winning those matchups, and that's something that we were talking about. Chesterton the previous year was, can they get over that hump? Can they win those games? Last year they were.
Now that said, I think if my number is correct, I believe their one-score win records, or their game records, I'll say, I think it was 3-3.
So that's
winning. 500 is great. 2 of those losses, of course, come to your rival against Valparaiso, so that's not fun. But yeah, Chesterton, again, with a team that could run the football, and they could bring back Andrew Govea, who we kind of saw in the latter half of the season that, hey, we're going to run Wildcat. We're going to put Govea in the backfield, number 13, try and stop us. And he would tote the rock 25, 30. Sometimes I think numbers got up to about 40 times a game, and he's just an absolute battering ram. They bring back an all-area offensive lineman for us, and Carlos Leon as well. A defense that brings back some pieces as well, and they're looking to try and find their identity maybe at the quarterback position. What we saw last year, Brady McCormick was their guy. He went down with an injury, which just kind of resulted for them to really establish that rushing heavy attack. But Chesterton, I mean, this is a team that could really find themselves kind of in the thick of the DAC. And again, you mentioned they open up against a Hobart squad, 3 top 10 opponents. They open up against Hobart. They'll be at home against Morton, and they'll be on the road going to Ames Field. Chesterton, it's hard to believe, still that elusive first sectional championship. This team, I wouldn't be surprised. Again, it's a wide open 5A sectional that they're in. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the team to do it.
All right, well, good luck to Coach Peterson and the Trojans. They open up the season, as you mentioned and I mentioned, against the Hobart Brickies, who come in at number 5 in the poll.
Very young team last year, 6-5. Probably not great to Hobart standards. The expectation for Hobart football, it seems year in and year out.
Any losses is not up to Hobart standards.
Right. Exactly. But this is the team, again, the fans, they should not, I'm not going to tell you guys to relax, but this is a team that record might be a little, I know. The record might be a little bit better this year given their supporting cast. And the guys coming back, you got a quarterback at Alex Tatum, who better sophomore quarterbacks in the area. We talked about Ryan Bouillon. Sophomore Alex Tatum, imagine being a sophomore starting quarterback for the Hobart Brickies, the pressure that kind of comes with. And he was great in year 1. He went to the Manning Passing Academy. We saw this past summer. He's only looking to improve. A defense that featured a couple sophomore starters, Bryce Tolliver, Aiden Cash is a name to look out for. Logan Peters is kind of going to be leading more on kind of the seniority basis. But a lot of those guys also playing both sides of the football. But Eric Schreiber also entering that second season as the guy at the helm, a guy who was on staff for a few years before kind of getting things going as the head coach. This team, again, the goal is simple, NCC title. They want that thing outright, and again, they want to make some noise now in a 4A sectional now that was ran by New Prairie, might be a little bit more wide open now without their leader.
All right, moving on to number 4 in the top 10. We've got, we'll have some fireworks here for sure. They always have a great fireworks display right before the game. Is the Valparaiso Vikings. 8-4 last year, fewest wins in a full season since going back to 2017.
That's hard to believe.
Great
really.
note by you. I'm just copying your.
Thank you, but I mean that's and I copy other people's notes. John Harrell for sure.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
The man, right? But I mean, you look at just the success that this Valparaiso program has had, especially under Bill Marshall. Again, since 2017, you consider this maybe a down year for the Valparaiso squad, which is just super, super hard to believe. But you and I kind of talked about it. It is a defensive unit that just has to get better. One of the things Valparaiso always prides themselves on, they have 2 solid units. They'll do some great things in special teams, of course, as well. But their defense is strong. Their offense, they're going to put points up on the board, and oftentimes a rushing attack that's going to limit opportunities. That said, they had to play catch up a little bit and throw the football a fair amount. But they did find out that they have a quarterback that is capable of just that. Kellen Hosick, also a baseball, I believe he pitches as well, which is a nice kind of tool to have. But he could throw the rock. He could still do some things on the ground. So the rushing identity of the Valparaiso offense will remain intact. But this is, I think, starting off, they want to kind of get back to those winning ways that we've seen. I guess we could say more winning ways outside of an 8-4 record. But to really make some noise in that 5A sectional and beyond, and potentially, I mean, be a force in the Duneland, they got to retool on defense. They have some pieces in place, as these teams do, but again, that can't happen. I believe that number for points per game, it was hovering around 30. It's a unit that you cannot be playing catch-up week in and week out, whether it's the Duneland Conference or not. Valparaiso, they start quick. Penn, and then going to Brother Rice. How about that?
I mean, that matchup against Penn is always a shootout. It's always fun and entertaining. So I believe we have that game right here on the Region Sports Network. I believe you will be at that coverage. So you'll be out at Viking Field. So that'll be a fun one to cover as well. Moving on to number 3, you've got the Andrean 59ers. 9-4 last year, 6-win increase from 2023. So we're talking post Drake Bowen era.
Right, and I mean, it was kind of an uncharacteristic 2023 season for the Andrean 50. A 3-win campaign, that's something you rarely even hear of going on Broadway. But what Chris Skinner does, again, year in, year out, it's what he's been able to kind of tool his team in a 2-year stretch. Had a couple great senior leaders, like Jimmy Finley was a name that was constantly just bouncing off the walls from, kind of in our region sports headquarters. Is just one of those top players in the region, but you lose him. But this is a team that they're not going to go away anytime soon. They open up, of course, with always a tough schedule before the NCC play. We'll talk about the number 2 and their number 2 ranked team and their opponent here shortly. But this is a team, the sky is the limit, and dare I say, Michael, I mean, they may have the best chance in the region to really, really make some noise in their respective class at the 2A level. Again, this is a team that went to semi-state last year. Now you bring back a quarterback in Brady Ellish. You bring back the top offensive lineman, we could arguably say, in the area in Nova, going to Wisconsin. A couple of, Ethan Rain, Tyler Vo, a couple guys returning from injury as well that kind of sidelined their season, or kind of sidelined them and shortened their season. Javier McCoy, another name to look out for. Vinny Suppan. So many young pieces. And a lot of those guys, juniors, sophomores, probably another freshman coming up there that we don't even know about. This is a team that just pumps out talent year in and year out. Team that could really kind of put it all together and really, really make some noise, not only in the NCC, but again, in that 2A class. I seriously think the sky is the limit for this 59er squad.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I've heard people say around the area that maybe getting away as far as semi-state. We'll see. There's math there. There's, the math would dictate some opportunities there, but got to play the games first, because obviously there's going to be some teams that are listening to this and bulletin board material saying, nah, we're not going to let that happen. But,
I really wonder where their floor is, but it's a good question.
Hey, you put Griffith as floor for conference, for Morton and Griffith, and where their floor is at. Some people might put that floor right around that area. Certainly getting a little bit further in that IHSAA tournament.
Right. Again, obviously Andrean's always going to be punching up, the smallest team in the NCC, and again, their first few games we talked about, they're going to be at Maryville, then they come home and play Lures, and then the NCC starts. They take it in week 3, but It's all kind of, although maybe the NCC title, it might be elusive some year, and the NCC could be better this year than the next. But let's say, whatever, they don't come out with a title. But once that tournament starts,
Right.
they'll be just fine. They'll be prepared. They'll be battle tested, playing two-way opponents, and that's when they really start to shine.
All right, moving on to number 2 opponent for the Andrean 59ers to open up the season. That'll be the Maryville Pirates. Always that team that's, they've been the top of the Duneland in the past, kind of before the Bazia era started in Crown Point. Now all of a sudden they're the ones kind of like chasing that top spot, and I think that we mentioned earlier that gap has closed, and they're definitely looking to do a little dethroning this year, I think.
I would say so. This is a team that's hungry not only to get to the back of the top of the DAC, but also to really get back to Lucas Oil Stadium and get back to just winning a couple more trophies, some bigger trophies, if you will. They see a great job kind of in the regional rounds, now second straight regional title. They've won a few more sectional titles in a row, but again, that elusive semi-state crown, it's an interesting case where, again, they play great, and that dreaded week 14 week comes around, and whatever. This time around, again, they lost to Warsaw, who was, a great team, but it's something that, again, Maryville wants to really try and get over. That's something that's always going to keep putting them year in and year out. And again, could we say this is the team that they bring back a backfield that is, again, you're going to be hearing about them a lot. They're going to be able to run the football just fine. Now, that offensive line last year, again, a lot of senior pieces, so they're going to be kind of shuffling the deck maybe up front and to get those playmakers, in space and get them to where they want to go. But this is a team that, again, not going to go away anytime soon. And again, Michael, it seems like they really played better almost in the postseason. And kind of, again, when that week kind of comes around, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But the Sky, again, this team has its sights set on getting back to Circle City.
All right. Well, a team that is also going to be looking to get back to Circle City as well. Pretty much dominated our number 1 spot the last, when was the last time they weren't number 1? You'd have to go back and look at that. You have to really think about that. We'll have to talk to the committee. We'll get up here in the commercial break and figure that out. But it's going to be the Crown Point Bulldogs yet again. Until, what do they say? Until you beat the champ, you can't take the champ out of number 1.
Yeah, you got to
rephrase somewhere like
that. Beat the best to be the
Yeah,
best,
that,
right?
Yeah,
something
that
like
one.
that. But no, I mean, what more is there to say? Obviously, that gap. It might be getting a little bit smaller due to the fact that Crown Point, you have some very valuable pieces that won't be walking through that door anymore. Again, Noah Ehrlich, a 2-time All-State, Nod, who won a couple more awards, plenty more awards, we could say, and just did a fantastic job in Coach Buzz's complex offense. You lose Jacob Sol, a tight end, H-back, going to do his thing at Indiana State. Again, I mentioned Zimborski, Ellison, a couple other guys. Josh Miller was a name that was tremendous last year. I think they lost their leading tackler as well, a linebacker of theirs. His name's escaping me. But this is a team that, again, they find ways to stay competitive, and they have guys especially that, hey, when you have a practice room of so many talented pieces, I mean, talk about valuable reps. Yeah, you might not be seeing the field sometimes on those Friday nights, but practices are going to be tough, and you are learning from some great role models, and they have some guys, again, 6 soon-to-be 3-year starters by Trevor Gibbs. This team, again, if you could kind of flame to Crown Point, what beat them, whether you do your respective business within your competition, for pound, it's tough to hold the flame right now to this Crown Point team, but it can be done, and it's why we're talking about it, and it could be bulletin board material for at least some of these teams, but it's tough to beat the Bulldogs right now. But just leading the pack we could probably say it for the good part of 2-3 years.
Yeah, it's been a while since they've been dethroned, but you talk about, again, we talk about the communities that come out and support. Oh my gosh, Crown Point are just packed in the stands, and the community rallies around, and stores will have signs saying "Good luck, Bulldogs" and all that kind of stuff. That's not just for football. That's all their sports. Talk about a Crown Point community right now that is just buzzing in all of their athletic events and all their accomplishments, and in so many other areas as well. Very much on the sports side. So banners that hang around.
Yeah.
We've been covering like so many different events. There's just a lot going on over there right now, and we even talk about Trevor Gibbs going to Indiana, and all that kind of stuff. So
he's a nice piece to have.
Not too bad.
It doesn't end with him. You have a lineman like Nolan Cicero, Ball State guy. You have, again, some of those 3-year starters, soon to be Dom Fenton, Griffin Van Tichel. He's going to go to Lafayette to wrestle, but he still wants to get back to Lucas Oil, as well as all these other guys do, and make their presence felt. Mark Gonzalez, a piece coming back from injury last year. And this defense especially, while offense might struggle a little bit out of the gate, again, you play for that old leather helmet, then you take on Pike, and then eventually Maryville comes knocking on the door. The offense may struggle without a leader. The leaders of kind of what we've seen from these past few seasons, but that defense, Michael, it's ferocious, and again, it's led, I think, by Trevor Gibbs.
In the long run, much like we did with Crown Point a couple of years ago, but we would like to, if they, teams are making it all the way down to Indianapolis, we'd like to be able to cover, especially when they start getting those rings. We always find that fun. So, hopefully a lot of region teams make it down to Indianapolis a little bit later on, much like we had with softball.
I was going to say,
I mean,
right?
that was so much fun to get down there to cover all those.
Let's do it again, Jeff.
Yeah, not too bad during the football season. All right, we're going to get a quick time out here. When we come back, we'll take a look at some of the big matchups here in Week 1. You're watching Region Football Weekly on the Region Sports Network, the only in town.
Earn while you learn from the best hands in the business. The Bricklayers Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. That's right, this is a paid apprenticeship.
I'm getting an education while learning a trade and getting paid for it.
The thing that surprised me the most about this apprenticeship program is the respect I've received after the proper time and training.
Classes start soon, so apply now. There are training centers throughout Indiana and Kentucky. We are the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. The best hands in the business.
From lighting up Friday night football to powering the classrooms that shape the students of Lake County, IBW Local 697 is proud to support our region's schools and the communities we call home. A career as a union electrician could be your next great move. Your next cap might be a hard hat. IBEW Local 697, powering futures, powering the region.
Old Man Winter is just around the corner, and that means temperatures will soon begin to drop. And a region winter is not the time to be left out in the cold. The professionals at Economy Electric Heating and Cooling can tune up that old new unit that can last for years. Deserves to stay comfortable this winter, and with 24/7 emergency service, comfort is just a phone call away. Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, 219-923-4441. Or for more info, the website is forajobdoneright.com.
Have you sent your bank's student checking account? This no-fee checking account is perfect for students and teens ages 14 to 24 and comes with all the features you need to succeed, such as a debit card, digital bank deposit. Sentier Bank can help you start good spending habits today for your better tomorrow. For more information, visit Sentier.com/student-checking or visit your local branch. If you are under the age of 18, your parent or guardian must also sign on the Sentier student checking account. At the age of 25, your account will automatically convert to the Sentier checking account. You must deposit $25 to open this account. This account is not eligible for overdraft advantage. Member FDIC.
Welcome back, Region Football Weekly here on the Region Sports Network from the Athletic Performance Factory. Michael Brander, the sports director, Mike Dewan, getting you set for the first week of action here. New school year, new football season. Can't wait for you guys to get the pads on and start hitting each other
doing
and
the thing.
doing the thing.
Yes,
Things
sir.
are going to be happening here soon. Let's take a look at some of the top games around the area. We already talked a little bit about it. The old leather helmet, always a fun game to be able to cover. But we're going to be talking about this one here. Lowell and number 1 in our RSN poll. We just talked about it. I hope you're paying attention. Lowell and Crown Point. And I'm sure Lowell fans are like, wait, where are we in this top 10 poll? Hey, get a win week 1, and you're going to be in the top 10 poll. There's no question about it. I'm going to tell the committee right now, you're in.
And I will say this, they're knocking on the door as well. We didn't talk about our outside looking in, but Lowell is a part of that bunch. If you want to take a look at the full list as well, feel free to check out our website at regionsports.com. But Lowell, they're knocking on that door. And when you have a week 1 opponent coming to the Inferno in Crown Point, you could really make some noise and find yourself on that list. But about this game, it's the old, I think it's the oldest rivalry in the state of Indiana when they first played. I think 1902. So I think what Jay Simmons was about five-ish years old or something. A couple of those guys, right?
Definitely had.
I know that I was going to say that joke before you did, but nonetheless, it's these two teams go way back, and it's kind of hills and valleys. And right now, it's been kind of Crown Point's game to lose. Coach Buzz yet to lose a game against Lowell. He's kind of had their number, and kind of the interesting, dichotomy, I guess, between these coach, like Coach Buzz, who's done a lot of great things with the Crown Point program, and you're welcoming an experienced coach as well, Coach Casey McKim, now in his first game with the Lowell Red Devils. That's going to be an exciting one, the home opener at the Inferno. It's going to pack the place. The rivalry, again, it goes way back to these two teams, especially one that, who doesn't like a traveling trophy like the old leather helmet? Now that said, Crown Point, they're going to maybe try and work out those kinks with some of those new pieces in place. But Lowell, they're going to have to come to play because Crown Point, again, they've won this game for these past few seasons, and they want to keep that old leather helmet at Crown Point High School.
I think no matter what level of football you're talking about, I think week one is always the hardest to really, like, that's the week I would never want to do a pick-em, because teams are really kind of coming in, and it's the first time that, in my opinion, you're really fully putting the effort in. A lot of teams, obviously you have scrimmages and you have practices, and you don't go full throttle because you don't want to risk injuries and those types of things. So this is where it's full throttle now. And I'm sorry, I don't care which team you are. Week one, that's always a toss-up in my opinion. So can Lowell do it? Yes. Is Crown Point the favorite? Sure. I'm sure whatever Vegas came out with is a good number. But at the same time, if you're the Lowell Red Devils, week one, it's a good time to potentially get off the schneid right away and create a big upset to start the 2025 campaign. So not that I'm rooting one way or another, but we like entertainment, we like fun. So.
I hear you, and I will say this: there's no better thing as a player about week one that, yes, the jitters are going to be there, especially for a home opener, or especially like all those seniors out there playing their last home opener against a team like Crown Point. But there's no better feeling of relief than after that first snap, then all the jitters kind of go away, and it's go time for us. It's go time for everybody, and it's just. Before you know it, the season, it snowballs over, and we all have 9 weeks turns into 15, and it's a time to live it all up. But it's, again, week one. It's a big week for everybody, and again, these teams are slowly trying to kind of build up their identity and figure out how to win football games.
All right, moving on, we've got New Prairie and LaPorte. New Prairie, new head coach. LaPorte trying to get a win here in week one, starting the win column right away.
Yeah, LaPorte, again, a tough place to play, so they're going to be at home. Again, it was to
you sticking around for 14
minutes. Week one is the healthiest you're going to be, of course. So it was health was kind of an issue for this LaPorte squad last year, but they could play New Prairie tough. And a thing to look out for is, again, lose Casey McKim. New Prairie now debuting their new head coach. That might benefit LaPorte in their case. So again, it's a team that battled some injuries last year. They're going to be healthy once again, and they might play this New Prairie team that has been dominant in the 4A class, kind of in their, on their schedules, out of conference, in conference. They've done it all with Casey McKim on their sidelines. How will this new era of New Prairie football fare? LaPorte, again, a chance to kind of build up on those baby steps. Now moving forward, again, coming off that 0-10 season, to open up at home in a big rivalry game, you can't ask for much more.
All right, moving on to the Portage Indians and the Morton Governors. Morton number 10 in our RSN poll. Portage got the win last year, but can the Governors start off and maybe get on a different trek than they did with that 0-4 start?
Yeah, it's a great question. Morton, again, it's always nice. There's so many brownie points to be added. If you're opening this at home, it's just more of a comfort thing for the players, of course, and that's when the hype, no matter what the outlook of the season is, whether you're returning a lot of players and you're expected to do great things, or you're a team that might struggle out of the gate or struggle for 10-ish weeks, the hype is going to be up, and to be at home for week one is huge. And Mansion, not an easy place to play. They beat this team at the Mansion 2 years ago. It was a big win for him. And Portage, again, we talked about, it's a new look squad. Morton, again, kind of same thing year in and year out, but Morton's chances in this one might be a little bit different this year compared to last year, where Portage, there was a lot of hype kind of building around year two of the Roy Richards era. Now this is a team not only with a new man on the sidelines, but again, with some of the kind of kids maybe leaving or transferring out to other schools. This is a team that they might struggle a little bit out of the gate in Morton, although they got some new pieces coming in as well. Them being at home, I think I give them the edge there.
Okay, all right, a matchup. I've really been a part of this matchup the last couple of years. Not about me, but I just get to watch this matchup the last couple of years, which is always a lot of fun. And this is one of those matchups that, to me, every year at the beginning of the year, it's a toss-up. You never know where this is going to go between Chesterton and Hobart, some of the top teams in our RSN poll.
talk about a place that is really fun.
Oh gosh, I love
on
going to
week
Hobart.
one. Fun throughout the year.
Yes.
Hobart faithful don't come for me. It's always a fun home game. Week one especially, though, it goes crazy, to say the least. The Brickyard it's a fantastic place to see a game, and especially when you're welcoming in the number 6th ranked team in our poll, when you're the number 15, and the Chesterton Trojans coming on in. Again, like you said, you can never really pick a winner in this one. These two teams play each other pretty close. Mm-hmm. Now, last you're looking at the first game under Eric Schreiber Jr. for the Hobart Brickies, a 27-9 loss. Chesterton, Brady McCormick, their quarterback last year, did a phenomenal job. Was great, and it was a rough start for the Hobart Bricky team that they played Maryville the week after and lost that one on their home opener pretty handily. I expect maybe a little bit more of a competitive fourth-quarter fight between these two squads. And Hobart, again, they have the pieces. And again, when you're at home and you don't have to hop on a bus like Chesterton does, that sure helps your case. But, Michael, we're going to keep our eyes on that one, to say the absolute least.
One of these days, we got to get a camera on these guys when they're coming over the hill and get that view coming over the hill. I think it would be so much fun over there.
There's a lot of chills in that one. Again,
Yes.
Enter Sandman, of course. What other song to walk out to. It's just a fun place to watch a game, for sure.
That's actually what, when Mike walks around the studio, that's what the background of the studio
Nope, for sure. You're
as
right.
well.
You're right.
All right, we're going to step aside. We're going to take a look at our matchups that we will have right here on the Region Sports Network on the other side of the break. You are watching Region Football Weekly on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
The Athletic Performance Factory is Northwest Indiana's premier athletic training center. The 40,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility features batting cages, a sand training room, a new outdoor turf infield, and so much more. Check out the facility for one of their daily classes at 3150 45th Street in Highland. Interested in signing up for team workouts or individual lessons? Check out their website at trainapf.com or contact them at 219-750-1087. Athletic Performance Factory, where athletes are made.
Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso is a leader in athletics apparel and equipment sales. With in-house production including screen printing, trophies, embroidery, and more, Blythe's can help you to create the perfect look. For more information, visit them online at teamblythes.com. Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso, where the athletes shop.
When it comes to your money, you deserve more than just numbers on a page. You deserve someone who sees the full picture. Meet Mark Machnick, one of Northwest Indiana's most trusted accounting professionals. Whether you're running a business, planning for retirement, or just trying to make sense of tax season, Mark Machnick, located in Highland, makes it simple, personal, and believe it or not, painless. Contact Mark and his team today at 219-595-5290. Mark Machnick, CPA.
Welcome back to the Region Football Weekly show. Michael Brenner here, along with Mike DeWan. Region Football Weekly here for you from our new digs, if you will, the Athletic Performance Factory. Rolling along, right? Just keep rolling along right here. We're ready for week one to get started. We've got three great matchups for you right here on the Region Sports Network. Let's start with one of those games that, I mean, every single year this one seems to be a barn burner or shootout. Lots of scoring always in week one. It is the Penn Kingsmen heading into town, into Valparaiso, to take on the Valparaiso Vikings.
Two teams that are, yes, you mentioned fireworks, seem to be inevitable with these two squads. And we saw that last year, a 49-42 absolute thriller at Penn last year, resulting in a Kingsman win. And we talked about that Valparaiso defense. If you give up 49 points, although this was a 7-point defeat, chances are you're probably not going to come out on top. That cannot happen. But these are two teams that new identities, new teams, a fresh slate heading into 2025. Penn, again, as teams do, they have some pieces, as the Penn do year in and year out. They had an 8-3 record last year, and they're going to be competitive. One name to look out for that will not be with the Penn Kingsmen is their all-world wide receiver, Tayshawn Bardo, one of the better players in the state. I believe he's committed to Wisconsin. He transferred to Elkhart. So who's going to be that guy out wide and might make things a little bit nicer for that Valparaiso defense, hoping to improve, because, again, they graduate some talents on both sides of the ball. Thomas Berta, a name that we talked about all last year at the running back position. Julian Stokes was kind of that guy on a little bit in special teams, but predominantly as a wide receiver. Caleb Sharp was a piece up front, and a couple other guys as teams do. Valparaiso being at home, not having to hop on a bus go all the way out to Mishawaka to play Penn. It's going to be a fun night. And what we see now more with these week 1 games, Michael, I believe it's senior night at Valparaiso tomorrow. So emotions kind of ride a little bit higher now for this open game in the season. We cannot be more excited to have that game on the Region Sports Network. That'll be a 6:30 start, a special 6:30 start. So we'll get that action for us all going early.
All right, perfect. I was going to mention that start time, but you beat me to it.
Come on.
That's why he's the sports director.
Okay.
All right, moving on. We got another good one over in Michigan City. Got a top 10 matchup. You got Hanover Central taking on the Michigan City Wolves.
Yeah, we talked about these two a little bit in our top 10 polls since it's a top 10 match of 9v8 Hanover Central. This is a team that we are very intrigued to see how they will fare heading into this season, Michael. Again, it's sound like a broken record, but yes, some new faces, specifically on the offensive side of the football, but a new kind of calling the shots on the sideline, and Tony Bartolomeo, and he has his work cut out for him against a tough Michigan City team that's hoping to get back on track and rebound after I don't want to call it a disasterful 2024 season, but just one that is you want to try and not follow suit heading into 2025, and more so a very tough place to try and play and win a football game in Ames Field. We are super excited for that. Again, we'll have live video from that at 7 o'clock. But to talk more, a little bit about the game, the first time these two teams, I believe, have ever played in each other's Hanover's history has
it's not as long
as Michigan City's. But again, Hanover Central, they're aiming high. The standard is changing, which is why they went out and scheduled the Michigan City team. They used to play Wheeler in the opener, and City used to play Warsaw. Two very solid opponents, respectively, but this one going to be a fun one. I expect a fair amount of offenses. They're two teams that like to kind of push the tempo and keep things going, keep defenses on their heels. If I were to say this is a track race, I like the home team here, Michigan City. Trenton Hart coming back. And again, they got a couple wide receivers that are very proven and could make their impact known well to start out this 2025 season. But a fun place to watch and broadcast a football game. Again, we'll have that for you tomorrow, 7 o'clock, Michael. Cannot wait.
Perfect. Looking forward to that one. Another one, you talk about two teams that, first time facing each other. These two teams are long rivals of each other. They've been playing each other for a long time. And it's the Battle of Broadway. Andrean comes into town to take on the Maryville Pirates.
Yeah, so I would say about this game, obviously, you mentioned these two teams are way too familiar with each other, separated by a couple minutes, if that. This has been a game that Maryville has kind of had the upper hand just about every year. I believe they first off, they play at the Purple Palace every single year, so that sure helps to play and try and win a game in that field. Good luck. Their home record is pretty mesmerizing, but this is a Maryville team, again, year in and year out, and one thing that's going to be a question for all is can Andrean withstand the depth of this Maryville squad? Andrean, although they have some talented pieces that are going to do some great things at the next level, if they aren't already, you got some guys that will do things, down the line. But some guys, again, they got some seniors like Brady Ellis, like Ben Novak, who are going to have some solid senior campaigns. But Andrean, some young guys that are already experienced. But some of those guys as well, Maryville, they're not going to have some two-way starters like Andrean will. I believe, Ben Novak, you might see some time defensively. Ethan is a piece out there that we saw what he could do on both sides of the football. And you're going to ask a little bit of these guys, especially in week 1 against a very solid Maryville team that, again, we talked about where their sights are at. This is a team that has a chance to be one of 5A's best once again, and it's not going to be this is a tough opponent for Andrean year in and year out. In Maryville, what we've seen, what they do just about week in and week out, again, defense is solid. They're going to try and rattle Brady Ellis, although now experienced, entering his second full year in, and their backfield of J.Q. Johnson, Cameron Jordan, they're going to run the football and they're going to let you know about it. Yes, they're going to have those athletes out in space, but Maryville, again, they're going to turn this into, hey, we're going to put points up on the board, whether that's with our offensive unit or our defensive unit causing short fields. But we're excited to be out there. But Andrean, they do have a team that could kind of shift the rivalry back in their way. But you got to try and withstand that Maryville rushing attack here first.
And this is going to be an audio-only broadcast, so we will be painting the picture, if you will, with the tone of our voices here on the Region Sports Network. So we'll try to do the best we can, especially describing the Purple Palace, one of my favorite places to go watch.
No better
a football game.
It's scared to play too. It's tough to be on that away sideline, so it's kind of unfortunate for Andre. And I know they play that game a lot there. It suits the bigger crowd, of course, as well. But it plays into the environment of the Battle of Broadway. It's a spectacle, and again, we cannot wait to be that outlet for you guys. Again, as all Friday nights, it's the best time for some of us. It's definitely for me as a football guy, and we just again on Friday Eve, Week 1 Eve. It's going to be a jam-packed slate. Again, we got those 3 games and plenty more stuff coming around.
All right, right now our next segment is going to be that Mike is going to predict the winner of every game in the state of Indiana. Go ahead. That's all, folks. That's all the time we've got for you here on Region Football Weekly. Can't wait to get this thing going. And again, please make sure you're checking out all the coverage all season long. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. I end our broadcast every single time by saying that, and I truly mean it. It's because of you all that we've done this for 25 years now here on the Region Sports Network, and our evolution has gone from just being on radio to then having the sideline supercuts and moving on to the video on social media platforms and doing what we do here now with these studio coverages and all that kind of fun stuff. So it's electric. We can't thank you enough. We can't wait to get out to our respect games and covering all of the games around Northwest Indiana. So can't wait to bring that to you. So excited, and hope you guys enjoy that coverage as well. And interact with us, get some comments going, get the likes going. Let us know that you're paying attention from wherever it may be. So we look forward to it. But that's been Football Weekly on the Region Sports Network, the only Region